Later. We're taking another short rest. I should sleep, but I can't. I should be glad to escape a place so deadly, and yet I feel as sad as when I left Tiger Rock. I haven't been here a year, and yet I've come to think of Big Bend as home, all the animals as my kin. Sometimes the land is so beautiful it takes my breath away, and the thought of leaving it makes me ache inside. If only we could get along with our neighbors. Still later. Leave it to Fox. He's already come up with a new plan. He said the gold is getting too hard to find, and once you find it, it's even harder to get out. It takes hydraulic equipment, and only a big company could organize that. I thought of the huge hose carving out of the mountainside that I had seen on my way up. Prosperity suggested setting up a really big company with the kind of equipment. A lot of people know that Fox has a nose for gold. They would invest in his company. The Fox said he knows ways to find gold more easily. The trouble is that the Americans, if we put too many improvements, we would just make ourselves an even more tempting target for some group of claim jumpers. However, the Fox insists that there is other work for us in the province. He has heard that the Americans want to build levees and reclaim some of the Sacramento Delta. The mountains have been pouring rich soil down the river for years, but that kind of work is too hard for Americans. Though it might not pay as well as mining, there would be a lot of jobs for Chinese. That's cheered up everyone. We'll still be able to send some money home. It's not going to pay as much, but it'll still be something, and American money will still be worth much more in China. The real important thing is that the American bullies wouldn't be jealous. What had Fox said? One step ahead? He was dancing on nimble feet, way in front of everyone else. April 22, Califia. We're safe. We're in another district called Califia. The Fox says that in the first few months of the gold rush, the hordes of miners stripped the gold from here. There are hardly any people in this district, American or Chinese. All of us are breathing easier. Uncle, though, is strangely quiet. That's a bad sign. April 23rd. We followed the river all day without seeing anyone. It's like the end of the world. The only signs that humans had been here were the rotting rockers and ruined shacks. We've camped for the night on the abandoned claim. The shack's roof is gone. The broken rocker sits beside the bank. Holes dot the banks. It looks like a battlefield. The banks juts out like a finger, forming a breakwater. The river forms a lazy edge behind it, which the Fox said would be a good spot for gold to drop out. It's a good thing we've stopped, too. My feet are so sore that I soak them in the river. For once, I'm grateful the water is as icy cold. Uncle sat like a lump beside me. He said that he didn't see how we'd ever get really rich piling up dirt for levees. It's like we're in prison and every day we have to do hard work. I reminded him of what the Fox said, that we'll still be sending home something. It might be less, but it will still be a lot for Chinese standards. But Uncle just kept staring at the river. The cook fixed a quick meal. Since we can eat only what we could carry, everything's rationed. The meals are small, about what they'd be back in China. But we're alive. That's the important thing. April 24th. I can hardly write these words. Uncle's left me. This morning he told the Fox that he was going to stay and prospect. He bought his own ticket here, so he was free to leave like any employee. The Fox didn't need a carpenter anymore. The Fox thought he'd lost his senses. After all, we'd got chased off our claim by a mob. Uncle might not survive the next mob. Uncle said he would search around here for a new claim. The Fox says that it was safe enough. The Fox tapped his nose and said, "That's because there's no gold, or this would have told me." Uncle has plans for home. He can't carry them out piling up dirt. The Fox shook his head but suggested that I go with him. I was scared of the idea of staying in the gold country. However, I thought of Uncle left alone in the mountains with his bad luck. He wouldn't last a week. So I said I was going to help Uncle. Uncle tried to use his authority as the head of family and tell me to go with the Fox. I refused. Uncle said I was useless to him. He didn't want me hanging around his neck anymore like a stone. I started to cry. Even if Father and Mother didn't need me, I had been sure Uncle did. Uncle kept saying a lot of hurtful things. I tried to remind him that he had been glad when I came. He insisted that had been a lie and said I was nothing but a burden to him. The fox came over and put his hand on my shoulder. As we walked away, he told me the cook to leave some supplies. We walked away, he told the cook to leave some supplies and a few tools with Uncle. The others made their farewells to Uncle, but I stood by the path ready to go. When we left Uncle, I didn't even look back. We've made camp for our noon meal. However, I've no appetite. I have to talk to someone, even if it's only my diary. How could Uncle say those things? How? Evening. I am writing this quickly by moonlight. I tossed and turned for hours. I can't let Uncle die in the mountains. Even if he hadn't loved me, he's still family. Everyone is asleep. I'm going to leave a note for the fox and then sneak away and find Uncle. April 25th. About an hour after midnight last night, I reached the shack where we had left Uncle. Uncle was sitting by the river. His shoulders were silvery in the moonlight. I hesitated, expecting him to say more hurtful things. However, I'd had time to rehearse my speech. So I told him I'd try my best not to be a burden. Uncle came rushing toward me before I could finish. He gave me a big hug. He told me he hadn't meant what he said. I asked him why he even said it then. Uncle thought I would be safer with the fox. Those hurtful words were maybe the hardest things he'd ever had to say. I'm not ashamed to say that we both wept. When we finished, we decided to look for gold in the morning. To our luck, I spun on my heel and recited, "Spin around, turn around, luck changes." With a chuckle, Uncle copied me. Then we entered the shack to go to sleep. I had to laugh. There isn't any roof. We might as well be sleeping outside. However, the shack does have a fireplace. After we had gathered branches, I got a good fire roaring in the fireplace. Then we lay down in our blankets. As I stared at the flickering flames, I thought of Mother. I used to squat by the front of the stove feeding the fires while she cooked. She used to like to hum, and the flames seemed to dance to her tune. When will I see her again? Later. Just had the worst nightmare. The mob was chasing me. I tried to run, but there was mud all around. I kept slipping and sliding, and the mob kept gaining. I must have not slept for very long, though, because the fire is just now dying. There are little dots of light all over the dirt floor of the cabin. They look like the torches the mob carried. We're safe for now. Still later. I'm trembling so badly, I can barely write these words. As I stared at the glittering floor, my curiosity got the better of my fear. What was reflecting the light? So I crawled out of my blanket and crept across the floor with my nose almost touching the dirt. I smelled gold. After spending all the time drying it and weighing it with the fox, I know it's snow by now. That's it, drying it. The owner of the claim probably got the gold from the river. That meant he had to dry it at night just as the fox did with his gold. There is gold dust scattered all around us. I've got to wake Uncle up and tell him. Night. When I first told Uncle my theory, he didn't get excited. Instead, he said it was an interesting idea. But why didn't the owner pick up the gold? I said that maybe the light had to be just right for the fireplace. Uncle looked thoughtful. He admitted that he hadn't noticed when he first came in here, and it had still been day then. I tried another explanation. The fox had said this area had been worked in the early months of the gold rush. There was still plenty of easy gold then. Uncle eagerly agreed. He said that maybe the owner thought the floor wasn't worth the time. I said that the owner had probably thought there would be nuggets just waiting to be picked up river. Maybe even big as melons, Uncle had to laugh. His boasts in the village seemed so long ago now. We'll wait until sunrise. One of the walls should give us the lumber. One of the walls should give us the lumber to build a rocker. Then we'll know. I don't know how much sleep I can get, though. April 26th. It took half the day to build the rocker. Then Uncle dug up a shovel full of soil by the fireplace. Carefully, he carried it over to the rocker. I used my hat to pour water in. Gently, we began to make the rocker sway. Water ran through the holes at the bottom. Then we held our breaths as the water poured out. Uncle got discouraged right away when he didn't see anything. I leaned my head this way and that, studying the wooden cleats from all angles. "Wait," I said. There was a faint gleam of light. I ran my fingertips along the edge and held it up. Bits of gold clung to it. April 27, evening. We're rich! It only took 1.5 days to get a small pouch of gold. Uncle says we'll make our melon-sized nuggets the hard way, one flake at a time. April 29. We went into the town to buy slippers and took the pails and things, but we were careful not to bring too much gold with us. Uncle let me do the talking since I've learned more American than he has. The Americans laughed at us when we registered our claim. They told us there was no gold up there. Uncle was curious when I insisted on buying a big chamber pot, but he gave in. Later, when I told him what the fox used his chamber pot for, Uncle had a good chuckle. May 4th. We've cleaned out the cabin floor. Uncle says our method of mining was worth more than gold itself. We have to protect it. I agree, so we filled the holes and smoothed over the dirt floor with branches. When we were finished, it looked just as we had first seen it. Now it's on the next abandoned claim.